Hello, welcome to My Name is Climate Platform, another episode of Voice of Nature. My name is Lalit Bhusal, and today we're going to speak to team behind Friends Not Food. They made a beautiful sitcom, and their sitcom was submitted to our one of the film festival, and they received Honorary Mention award. So before we start conversation with them, let's watch this trailer.
Let's review the allegations against you.
Oh, it wasn't even me. It was Mr. Feely.
I am leaving today.
I actually now own an animal sanctuary.
Why would you buy that? You hate animals.
You want to run it?
No.
Is this the animal sanctuary?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Yes, she probably is from the city.
For the animals, I will boycott, I will protest, I will deal with anti-vegan bullshit, but this is like real bullshit. Mostly pig shit.
Just as your dad said to my dad on the day that he married our mom, you can do it if you believe.
I just inherited an animal sanctuary, and I'm looking for ways to monetize it.
So we can get a celebrity spokesperson.
Celebrities near me. We love nature presenter Sir Donald Scarborough. We hate his son Colin.
I'm not really an animal expert. That's my father. I mean, I assume that's a goat because I've seen a picture of one. Is it a goat?
Well, rhino bollocks to that.
There's been a gator sighting in our area.
These fences are strong. Gators are strong. They eat pigs, cows, cruel women.
We are the strange ones.
Yeah. What do you think?
We think we're just a few, but there's a slew. We're here to recruit.
That was the trailer of Friends Not Food, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let's welcome team on board and let's have a conversation with them. Welcome, Felicia.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so honored to be here, and thank you for the honorable mention at the last Film Fest.
You deserve this. And welcome, Arun.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. And please let me know, how did you guys team up and how this idea came to life?
Briefly, I am an actor with a marketing background, and there are a few reasons, a few ways that Friends Not Food, the sitcom pilot, developed. One, I'm on the board of Little Bear Sanctuary, which is a farm sanctuary in Florida on the Gulf Coast. And we were joking one day about unique ways to raise funds, and somehow that conversation turned into, we should film something here. It's beautiful. You can actually see our backgrounds are actually Little Bear Sanctuary. And simultaneously just thinking about ways to always put a purpose behind things that I do. And as a ethical vegan for over 10 years, I'm always looking for ways to share the message without being preachy. Sharing the message to people that don't know about veganism, that would never watch a documentary about it. And at this time, I happened to meet a writer who was not from the animal welfare world, but very, very funny individual, very much a Ricky Gervais type, who was, one of my favorites in The Office, and everything just sort of came together. And I just sort of kept saying yes, and not having any filmmaking background. It just sort of happened that we produced a sitcom pilot set at Little Bear Sanctuary, and then at a film festival. It might have been the second or third festival that we were accepted into. It was in Toronto. It was the International Vegan Film Festival. I was on a panel seated next to Aaron, and he was such an entertaining individual. I love that he didn't seem like the typical vegan. He is an elite athlete, and he'll tell you about himself. And then we just instantly connected. We got to see each other's program, and I just thought, this is someone I really would love on my team, because I loved my crew and my cast, but didn't really have anyone with that animal welfare knowledge, because I didn't want a sitcom to speak just to the animal people. I wanted it to really speak to the non-animal people, yet it's such a fine line to walk. And I was a little too much on the non-vegan side, and I needed someone that could speak my language, yet also was really funny and charismatic. And forgot what I was doing, but had a way with people. And there he was sitting right next to me. And I said, hey, even though you're in Canada and I'm based in New York, you want to help me out with this? And he was so enthusiastic, and it's been just a beautiful connection. And I will let him take over from there.
Well, I have to because I am hilarious, as you said. Uh, but also, I think I basically begged you, Felicia, to allow me to be a part of this. I have said over and over again in many messages I've delivered from stages and in conversations that I just want to feel like I'm on purpose in my life. Your sitcom pilot, I think within what was it, the first 2 minutes of watching this, I turned to you and I was like, I would watch the heck out of this series. It's exactly the kind of comedy that I think people relate so heavily to. It's dry, it's quick, it's intelligent, but it's understated. And then there's the animal component, which is of course universally adopted and loved in that kind of interaction, right? And I I just loved watching it, and to try to be a part of the team that helps attempt to create something of this series is very meaningful to me. So I appreciate you having me on board, Felicia, and I appreciate being here today to try to make something of it.
Yeah, so that was your first meeting, right?
Yeah, our only in-person meeting, yes.
Yeah, amazing, man. And how much time you guys spend to come to this?
I mean, that was in October, right? So a few months.
Yeah, and you were in Mexico for quite some time, and,
Yeah.
I think I threw him right in when I said, "If you really wanna be involved, I have this, like, 28-page series Bible," which is something that I learned because 'cause I'm learning everything as I do it. You must create if you are going to pitch a series because they want to know everything to whomever you pitch it to. They wanna know who are the characters, what is the location, what is your first season arc look like? What's the second season? Every little detail. So I had a lot written out. And again, trying to balance that humor, crazy, unique humor, but also with messaging. And I really needed someone to look over it because I had read it so many times and no one else quite was understanding what I was doing. And I was said, well, here's a 28-page document if you want to look at it and comment and edit. And he did. And I think that really gave you all the information you needed on where my mind was with the project. And it's just gone from there. We get late night texts and Zooms and um just in it and as needed. It's when you can connect with someone, you just kind of finish each other's sentences, and we're just very much on. Despite being very very different people in different countries, we both get we're on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, same here. We are doing for the same purpose, whatever we do. Right now, I'm in Netherlands, and Felicia, you are in New York, right? Yeah, and Arun, you are in Toronto.
No, absolutely. I wouldn't be caught dead in Toronto. No. I am 3 hours west of Toronto in a tiny little Lake Huron side town. But I don't I don't really have like a home base. I'm pretty nomadic.
Ah,
Felicia referenced Mexico. I was on a bike trip there for 3 weeks. Like I like being on the move and
oh,
advocating as I go.
I'm hearing quite a lot about the veganism. And about you, and when did you realize that you want to be vegan?
I was vegetarian off and on my entire life, but growing up in the 80s, in the suburbs with a mom who loved to cook and had no interest in vegetarianism or veganism, it was not easy. I didn't have access to uh, newspaper, the internet, anything. I didn't know how to do it. I only had whatever was I didn't have a car. I had what was in our pantry. So again, off and on. And then when I became an adult, I I don't know when I finally became a vegetarian officially forever. Then, but in my as an adult, then I was what I called a hypocritical animal activist. I knew to go vegan for years. I knew about dairy industry. I knew it was disgusting and also wildly cruel and just a miserable, horrible world. But I couldn't give up cheese. I would never give up cheese. So this is the one area in my life I can be very patient with people. Usually I have no patience, but I get it. I know how hard it was. The only reason that, and I would go to protests. I would be, screaming the veganism, and then I would go home and have cheese, grilled cheese sandwich. Then my younger daughter was 7, said one day, and let me back up. I have 2 daughters. Both of them had gone vegetarian on their own time. I never pressured them for a few reasons. One, because I'm lazy. I don't like to cook. I didn't know how to keep it balanced. Plus, I don't believe that's not something you can make someone do. You have to understand why. Both of them at young ages on their own said one day, no more meat. Okay.
Wow.
Then when my 7-year-old said, one day, I'm not eating anything from animals ever again.
Wow.
Simultaneously, so proud of her. And then, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is complicated. I'm going to have to learn because she's young. How am I going to keep it balanced? Ugh. But again, I'm trying to keep it short. Without trying, I happened to stumble upon a vegan coach. He was a chef and a coach, and he came once a week for a month and taught us very simple things, but I wouldn't have known if I didn't have someone explaining to us how to eat very healthfully. Whole food plant-based is the diet. If you want to be a healthy vegan, that's the diet. My husband, who was an omnivore but a health nut, wound up going. All 4 of us went vegan. After a month, we went plant-based is the diet, and we never looked back. And then once you're there all together, it's easy, it's fun, it's very bonding. Again, I'm just gonna keep rambling, so I'm gonna try to wind this up. So, I did it for me, it was, because of my daughter, but it was the animals were the reason. My husband did it for the health benefits. I know people that literally are vegan, ethical vegans to save the planet. There are multiple reasons. And as far as I'm concerned, is as long as you do it, as long as you try, make an effort. That is the most important thing. And let me just quickly tie it into the whole reason that I'm extra grateful for your honorable mention is because so many people in the climate space of saving the planet do not acknowledge veganism. And
Yeah.
you can't have a legitimate conversation about saving the planet and not include animal agriculture. And it is astounding that there are a few other not astounding, but is disappointing. There are a few other climate-focused film festivals that we did not get into. And people are just not making the connection. And that's really important to both Aaron and I to make that connection that if climate is really a concern, you have to open your eyes to animal agriculture.
Yeah. I just want to take a moment and quote again to the people, especially all other film festival people who are going to watch this video. Please support veganism. They are making such a great difference. So we're going to talk about more dig inside why and how they are making a difference. So Arun, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I find it so interesting as Felicia describes her youngest, her 7-year-old, saying, I'm no longer going to, not her words, of course, my words here, but no longer take part in this process and consume these ingredients anymore. And the prism through which children evaluate the world is so straightforward, right? If it doesn't make sense to them, why would they do it? And I don't have any kids, so I can't relate to that. I'm sure that's very challenging in lots of different spheres and spectrums. But for me, it makes so much sense when a child relates that this chicken or this pig or this cow is what we are consuming on our plate, and they don't want to be a part of that. I love that emphasis for them. And that focus is the ethos, right? I don't want to do harm. Therefore, I am not going to consume or support something that perpetuates harm to another living being, right? Another somebody. And I thought it was beautiful the way you described in the Sanskrit word. I can't remember the word, but the climate has aham. So as a body, as a being. And I thought that was really apropos to the entire philosophy around which we're trying to expose, right? The benefits of, and it's yes, the climate conversation is not served while you're serving animals in the buffet at the conference, right? Like it's hypocrisy. And if there's one thing I've tried to alleviate from my life and my living style personally, it's hypocrisy. And the value of exuding compassion and empathy is is beyond measurable in a positive way. And with that, kind of like Felicia tying up her comments, I have to say the value of laughing at something and with something is kind of a vehicle that takes you to greater understanding in many cases. And with enough anger and hatred around the world right now, I think there's always more need for beautiful moments of humor and laughter and loving and joyful expression.
Hmm.
And I think when I considered it further, that was why sitting in the seat next to Felicia watching her sitcom pilot, I just felt that, and I had to express that to her and begging her to be a part of this team. So that's my comment. I think this is the perfect time for a sitcom like this to be on the air, and I think more people will gravitate towards this than they could possibly imagine.
I would like to use that to plug one of your last interviews I just watched about Whale Call with, was it Ron Goodwin? I think his name was. Um, at the end, he talked about Al Gore, who, well, probably know and love. I remember reading Earth in the Balance in college, thinking, huh, this is interesting, climate change. Anyway, Rod mentioned that Al talks about not scaring people when it comes to climate, and Ron disagreeing with that. And I thought I agree with both of them. As an animal activist, you see all kinds of protests with the angry PETA protests, you see, but that's exactly a perfect way to explain or to understand why, okay, some people, anger works for them. The beautiful documentary, The Whale Call, works for them. But humor is just a complete different entrance into this conversation that haven't really seen before. And is just getting yet another group. We can just open more eyes any way we can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, we have to use all sort of tool. Actually, that's how I see it. And I found Felicia and Arun, what you guys did it is amazing thing you discover. It's a discovery to tell the story or in a different approach, and there are audience for it, and that's why we loved it. We loved your sitcom. It was beautiful. I'm a vegetarian, and sometimes I feel like I'm a vegan. I mean, some of my friends they also say that vegetarian is quite similar to vegan. Um, can you educate me, like a baby, on this matter?
Vegetarianism and veganism. Veganism is a very, very specific do no harm, support no harm. The ethos of it is from empathy, compassion, love, the fact that we as the what developed beings on this planet really should utilize that ability to exercise analysis and choice and realize that as those developed beings, we should be taking care of other non-human beings, not exploiting them and using them. Vegetarianism can be much more closely related to a diet preference. Whereas, again, I could go into the weeds on this for hours and hours. It's a point of, for me, words make a difference. Um, uh,
I would simply say there is an official definition of veganism by the vegan organization, which I can't recall, but they call it a philosophy that animals are sentient beings not here for our use. They're their own. They're their own. They're not here for us in any way to wear, as entertainment. And which actually, since I mentioned that, I have to always say this for any vegans watching. The only ethical dilemma I had when I had this idea was vegans do not believe in commodifying animals for anything, including entertainment. And I thought, well, these animals are going to be in this program. So I subbed that by never using these animals. They exist at the sanctuary. They have almost total free reign, and they're used to visitors. So part of what I thought what made work for us was we would improv with the animals. We had them do nothing. In the pilot, two are loosely written into the script, but they're not made to do anything. We go to them. If a different animal comes up, the actors knew when we hired them they not must, but we encouraged improv. That was the fun. But animals were not made to do anything because, as an ethical vegan, I'm not okay with that. So we let them do their thing, and we worked with them.
I've spent a whole lot of time in animal sanctuaries. Sanctuary operators are true heroes of mine. And again, I could talk about hours about my respect for them and what they have to do as fully activated, empathetic human beings. But what I know from my time at sanctuaries is the animals are comedians on their own. They are very, very good at being beautiful and hilarious and mischievous and problematic and all these things. They embody so many what we could define as human traits when they're just native and characteristic of any living being, right? With a consciousness. Nevertheless, what I saw was these animals being themselves and certainly not being commodified or exploited. And the experiences portrayed on the screen in that sitcom pilot, I've seen dozens of times over and over again. My sanctuary operator friends would say the same. I got a kick out of seeing the on-screen portrayal of what I've seen after riding my bike to these sanctuaries all across Canada. Like it is just so true and so respectful of what these operators are trying to accomplish, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay, tell me more about the location and on the actor in this film, and did they ever like encounter that kind of situation what you guys created, with the beautiful pig behind you, and there was a bit mud, and how was it for everybody?
Well, first, I'll introduce the animals behind us.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
Elsie Mae. This
So
is
Elsie.
Anne. That's Anne. And then the bull. Well, that over there, that bull is Tough, TUFF, and Sparkles is the cow. So they are some of the residents. There is one fun story I've told a couple times. So the one of the storylines involved. In a reality show, they'll have a what's it called, confessional, where the character will talk to the camera. Um, we were gonna use an animal and have not use the animal, but we were going to have opportunities for the characters to talk to one of the animals, which was going to be a donkey. The donkey's name was Zeke. The real donkey's name was Zeke. And the characters were going to have discussions with Zeke as because to be funny, but also to show that these animals can be really good listeners. Sometimes it's just really cool to talk to them. And then there was going to be a scene where the dog, who actually lives there, in real life, the rescue dog is named Koa. That we were just going to have them in the same shot, in the same. I hate that we're using the word shot and shoot at the sanctuary, but you know what I mean. There was going to be a scene where we just needed them both in the same scene. The night before we were going to start filming, we were out to dinner, and Chris Vane runs the sanctuary, and we mentioned to him we were going to need Koa and Zeke in just one little shot, and Chris said, "Oh no, they don't like each other. That Zeke does not like Koa," and we said, "Okay, all right, okay." And we realized there was a goat named Orion. This is a real name in the show. He became Hieronymus because as we were there, we realized just there, doing some B-roll ahead of time, just getting the lay of the land for the people that weren't familiar with the sanctuary. Orion was just sort of watching us the whole time, just sort of kind of mystical, kind of taking it all in. He seemed to know where the camera was, and he became Hieronymus. He became the one that the main character, that everyone talks to as a therapist. He was perfect. He would sit there, he liked to get pet, he would chew, make noises at the right time. He was just absolutely spectacular, and it wasn't our plan, but we knew we were going to improv, and he wound up being the star just by being himself and us working around him. And he was never skittish. It just worked out beautifully, and that wasn't a plan, and it was one of the highlights. And then I'll just mention my favorite part. The pilot is light on the vegan messaging and the climate messaging because we wanted to we wanted everyone to enjoy the pilot, and then they like the animals, and then they'll watch more, and we'll get more into the messaging. But what we did do, because I felt like there wasn't enough, I really wanted to get the purpose out there of why this sitcom was not just another sitcom. We had a quote unquote PSA at the end. One of our actors, Cooper Barnes, he's a Nickelodeon superstar. He was a series star for 7 years, and he's an actual animal activist. That's why I know him. He had a cameo in this pilot, and then he did this PSA at the end where he just spoke about Orion's true backstory and how he came to the sanctuary and what had happened. And it wasn't miserable, it wasn't horrifying, but it was very upsetting what Orion had gone through before he got to the sanctuary. And every time we have shown the pilot at a film festival or there's been a screening, that PSA at the end gets the most audible response. It's all kinds of, oh, it's just everything. That's really what gets to people because they've already gotten to know him and fallen in love with him. And it's my absolute favorite part. Even though I'm tired of watching the pilot, I love that moment. I can't wait to hear what's gonna come from the audience.
Hospitality industry, restaurant, where they serve meat, and when it is not consumed by people, they just throw it. Okay, and those industry where animal product been used for people like us to put a coat on, the fur coat, leather belt, leather shoes, and things like that. Um, do you have any message for them?
Oh, there's so many things. If I could give one message, oh my gosh. Um, well, let me see. My great grandfather owned a slaughterhouse in New York. I didn't know him, but I was raised knowing that. My mother worked in a fur store when I was in high school selling fur coats. Um, I can say that before I saw the light, sometimes being vegan does feel like being in a cult. Um, I understand that we are raised to believe you need a piece of meat in the middle of your dinner plate to be healthy. That you are told that nothing is as warm as a fur coat. If in these winters you need a fur coat.
Exactly.
We're raised to, some of us are raised believing that, and you're surrounded by that. And you can't, I don't blame younger people, but as you get older and now there's so much information out there, I think it's incumbent upon everyone to do your own research, do your own learning, and understand why the fur industry shouldn't exist anymore. Why we don't need slaughterhouses. We don't need to kill 80 billion land animals a year in factory farms worldwide. None of it's necessary. And there are stories of former cattle ranchers that have become vegan and changed their farms from cattle to soy. There are people who were literally raised to become a slaughterhouse director, and they changed their entire existence. So it's happened. I think people really just need to, like Ron was saying in the whale call, it's not just about you. We all live in this world together. We are one big community, and you might be doing something that's great for you and your family, but could be. Yeah, I'm sorry. We can just keep talking forever. So, Aaron, you want to?
No, yeah. I never want to cut you off, Felicia, but I would love to just share this. That my question for people is always, how would it feel for you? How does it feel for you to adopt more empathy into your life, right? If you start questioning your actions and your habits and your choices when it comes to something as triggering and emotionally volatile as food and food consumption, I've heard it, the comparison between addiction and addiction recovery. Well, you can avoid certain substances, but you can't avoid food. It's such a volatile topic, right? Well, if you talk about hospitality, yes, they have multiple people to serve, but the information that comes into that offering is based on people's feedback, based on their requests, based on their actions. We've seen a humongous uptake in plant-based milk deliverables, for example, right? And that's not on a whim. It's because there is now a market paying for plant-based milk products. Similarly, if you go to a buffet or a hotel or a conference and you're asking, what is the non-meat option here? What is the non-dairy option here? And then you recognize that that's coming from a place of your values and your principles, living without the hypocrisy of I love this, but now I'm also eating it. There is a tremendous amount of change that can happen. But it's up to the individual. It is up to the individual, which creates the mass and the support and the feedback loop for things like hospitality, hotels, and conferences to recognize that there is change that needs to be made here based on the demand they're experiencing. And as Felicia said, it's just so unnecessary. We don't need animal-based protein, because if that's the case, I've been protein deficient for 12 or 13 years, right? Meanwhile, having ridden through South Africa, around Colombia, across Canada, 31-day hunger strike, like I'm just the whole misinformation thing, really, there's no reason for it unless you are blissfully ignorant about your own actions at this point in time. Uh, yeah.
Thanks, Aaron, for sharing that. It's lovely the way you are opening, the explaining this is great. And
Well, Felicia's the artist, so the emotion and talent is there. What I'm trying to do is be a lot more cerebral, which comes from a place of making up for my ugly looks. She's continuing to let it.
Road. Okay, yeah. You look really dashing, handsome person. To be honest, what do you think about those activists, change makers who are giving speech about nonviolence and peace, and later, when they are sitting for a dinner on their plate, there is a piece of meat.
This is another place where I can be patient and understanding because everybody can't do everything. I mean, I have an iPhone and I know there are reasons I should not have an iPhone. Not sure about all of them. I think the child welfare is an issue. I don't know. And it's embarrassing that I don't know that. And it's hypocritical. Everyone can't do everything, but you should try to be as educated as you can about topics that affect everybody and make an effort and become educated. And veganism is not about being perfect. Try, just try.
Thank you, Felicia. That is so nice what you said. And yeah, another question. If somebody who is eating meat full time every week in the morning and late and is depend on that is his main diet and he want to become vegan, so where from where he can start?
Oh, yeah, I mean, if I may, that was me, right? I've consumed in my earlier years, I consumed more animal products than probably many people for the time period that I had been alive, combined. I eat for sport, and I still continue to eat for sport. Um, but now it's just a much more sustainable, energetic way of consuming products. Now, somebody comes up and I've interacted with a lot with people who are meat eaters, and what I love about the premise of your question, Lily, is that person probably has a curiosity. Felicia and I have both been in conversations with people who, in that exact context, come up to be antagonistic. And I don't know if that's where your question is coming from. Somebody who is antagonistic versus curious. Um, I've had enough conversations in my life these days from an advocacy perspective where if somebody's coming in from an antagonistic perspective, I kind of just shut that down and walk away to protect my own energy. But if somebody's coming from a place of curiosity, I'm gonna buy that person a fancy tea. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to be soulmates by the end of that because I want to know exactly why and where that curiosity is coming from, how that ties to their values. And then without fail, there is so much evidence and science and meta-analysis and resources like even nutritionfacts.org where somebody can go and get true analyzed data to support the value set of putting empathy before selfishness, right? Yeah. And also, an activist who has animal products on their plate may be in process at the end of the day, right? I mean, the question I've been proposed rhetorically many times to see if somebody can catch me and not have an answer is, well, do you think the whole world should go vegan all of a sudden? And I say, well, that'd be a great start, right? To help heal the planet because all of those emissions from the transportation costs and all of those things that are combined within the animal agriculture industry are not doing our planet any favors and not doing us any favors, right? But it's about progress. So Felicia nailed it. I mean, there are no perfect vegans. There are no perfect vegans. It's impossible, right? It's perfect should not be a part of the spectrum. We're just trying to do as much good and reduce as much harm as possible. And I know I'm only speaking for myself, but I hold the opinion that there are no perfect vegans. You know, we all accidentally walk on a bug here or there, right? And it just the conversation does not need to be around how to be perfect as a planet. It's how to do the most good, the best, most efficient way possible. And the preponderance of evidence seems to suggest that that includes a conversation around eliminating or reducing animal-based food sources, especially from a production standpoint.
Wow, well said, Arun. Thank you for quoting like that. And yeah, question to you both. What do you like to say to those filmmakers who don't have a background just like yourself in a filmmaking and they want to make a change by making a documentary or sitcom or short films about climate change, about animal cruelty, um, and they want to pass a message just like yourself? What do you like to say?
I was asked this once before. I think my answer was just do it. Just keep saying yes. Just keep moving forward. And if you hit one roadblock, try something else. I still don't know how this happened. It just was the right people at the right time. And I'm still moving forward and I'm still not sure what I'm doing. But, I meet people like this who, if nothing else, is very entertaining and makes me laugh. And we all need a lot more laughter these days.
Yeah.
So I don't have any great advice except keep saying yes and surround yourself with people you enjoy that are knowledgeable that have the same mindset you do.
I think, and obviously, I'm not a filmmaker. I was involved in a very short documentary based on the Cross Canada cycling project that revolved around those animal sanctuaries. But what I learned was that the skills and talents and the framing and the composition of things is far less important in the grand scheme of things than it is the confident expression of one's um, desires, right? And when somebody's tapped into their creativity, I think that should be expressed, especially when it's coming from a place where the values are in line. I'm not saying somebody should express every little desire they have if they're not coming from a sound place necessarily, because I think we've had a lot of expression in the world these days that isn't coming from a sound place. However, artistic expression should be something everybody does. I've expressed artistic expression and creativity in non-entertainment and non-film and videography ways. I think it's a broader topic, and I think that we should all be expressing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Nice.
There's I met a woman through another project I did. She's a visual artist named Layla Love, and she had there's a phrase she had that I love. It's Art, when paired with purpose, loses its ego. And not that I think my project is art, although many people would say it is. I loved that. I thought, oh, I'm making something fun and pretty. But there's a purpose, and it's just for the fun and the purpose. And that has always resonated with me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Lilith,
nice.
you mentioned a lot of individuals who have lost their autonomy and their sense of self and their individualism. And I think that if there is a purpose for living on this earth or living life, it's to find your unique sense of self, your unique voice, and then express that in an authentic way. I think that we as human beings are inherently good, and then time perverts that sometimes, and experience and how we tangle with those experiences can really detrimentally affect those attributes that we are naturally, instinctively, genealogically born with and adapted to. But self-expression is my goal, and I do that in a number of different ways. Um, and from a filming perspective, I think that's one of the reasons I'm so lucky, fortunate, excited to work with Felicia, who's got seasoned, Screen Actors Guild credits and time and all these things in her background, in your background, Felicia, that 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 is where talent and skill can come back into the equation, along with your desire, Felicia, to be authentically expressive of this mission statement and this purpose. And I just think the pilot is such a great example of how those two things come together. Beautifully portrayed.
Okay, so what is the future plan for Friends Not Food? It is a sitcom, and are you in a pre-production for upcoming episodes?
The plan for Friends Not Food is that it gets picked up, it gets greenlit by a major network or streaming service for many episodes and many seasons. And our friends with their own personalities will be so beloved by America and possibly Canada and other countries that people will tune in to see them. They will become celebrities in their own right because of their fabulous, unique personalities. And people will start making the connection that these are some ones, not some things.
Wow.
How cool would that be if like Hieronymus has his own T-shirt one day and people just rocking the swag, right? Because it's just such a mainstream character, or even like a cult stream character, like that would be so cool.
And the proceeds from those would go to rescuing other animals or promoting companies that sell ethical foods.
Thank you, Felicia, for sharing that information. It's very, very useful, and we like to see Friends Not Food on big OTT platform and on television, and we will support you from background all the time. And let me know how people can connect with you both, Arun and Felicia, and if they want to invest in this production, or maybe they just want to follow the story. Let us know.
Absolutely. The most updated online information can be found on Instagram, Friends Not Food, the film on Instagram. And it's not a film, but I adore alliterations. But Friends Not Food, the film on Instagram. Also, friendsnotfoodthefilm.com is our website. You can email there, and we would love to connect in any way. Again, our goal is to spread this message. It's not fame, fortune. It's just get this project out there for as many people to see and as many people to get to meet our silly friends. Door Not Food.
And all checks can be written to Aaron. And that's it, just Aaron.
Thank you so much, Arun. You took this interview to another level, and I really enjoyed talking to you and Felicia both. And I like to say to whole team of Friends Not Food, thank you for submitting your film to My Name is Climate Film Festival. By your submission, you are not only bringing awareness about things you are doing, you are showing your work to other filmmakers who are not focused towards to these kind of subject. And when they see films which is making a change to our beautiful world, they start to do something, and they make similar content. And this is what we like to see. Everybody is putting some effort in it. And same time, whatever submission fee we collect through this film festival, that is used to organize whole film festival. We don't have big sponsors. We don't have any subsidies at the moment. So that's how we organize these film festival. And then the rest of the money is used for overseas project. We do some educational project in overseas in needy countries where climate change is a big issue. And we do some sessions as well to switch on that button which is not switched on inside human being, and they are not connected. So we try to connect them with the nature, with the planet earth, with the climate. So thank you.
Thank you so much for what you do with your program. I didn't realize how many different elements and levels to My Name is Climate there are. It's wonderful. And thank you again so much for recognizing that veganism must be part of the climate conversation. But you do wonderful things, and I'm so glad that we got to know even more about you today.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you. Thank you. And before we finish this interview, I'd like to hear my name is
Climate.
My name is
Climate.
Climate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Climate. Mission humanizing climate.